Have you ever felt that something has shifted in your relationship, but you can't quite put your finger on what it is? Maybe he still says he loves you, maybe he's still there physically, but something feels different. Something feels off. There's a distance you can't explain, a coldness you can't identify, and a change in the air that makes you question everything. You're not imagining it. What you're sensing might be one of the most painful realities a woman can face in a relationship: the gradual loss of respect. And here's what most women don't realize until it's too late. Respect doesn't disappear overnight. It erodes slowly, subtly, through small actions and quiet moments that you might dismiss as nothing. But these small signs are everything. They're the warning signals that something fundamental has changed in how he sees you, how he values you, and how he treats you. Welcome back to the Heart Code channel. If you're a woman over 40, 50, or beyond, and you're navigating the complex world of relationships, you're in exactly the right place. This channel is dedicated to you, to your experiences, to your wisdom, and to protecting your heart from the games and manipulations that some men play. Today, we're going to talk about something that many mature women experience, but few discuss openly: the 7 subtle signs that a man is losing respect for you. Before we dive deep into these critical warning signs, I want to ask you for something. If this video resonates with you, if you find value in what we discussed today, please take a moment to hit that like button. It helps this content reach more women who need to hear this message. Drop a comment below sharing your thoughts or your own experiences. Your voice matters, and your story might help another woman recognize what she's going through. Share this video with a friend who might need to hear this. Sometimes we can see things in our friends' relationships that they can't see themselves. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the Heart Code channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss content designed specifically for mature women navigating love and relationships. And if you really want to support this channel and help us continue creating content that empowers and protects women, consider leaving a super thanks. Your support means everything and allows us to keep producing the in-depth, honest content you deserve. Now, let's talk about respect. Respect is the foundation of any healthy relationship. It's more important than passion, more lasting than infatuation, and more essential than romance. Without respect, love becomes toxic. Without respect, partnership becomes imprisonment. Without respect, a relationship becomes a slow erosion of your self-worth. And here's what you need to understand. Men are often very good at hiding their loss of respect. They've learned the right words to say, the right gestures to make, and the right performances to put on. But their actions, those subtle, everyday behaviors, those tell the real story. So let's examine these 7 signs carefully and thoroughly, because recognizing them might be the most important thing you do for yourself this year. Sign 1. He dismisses your opinions and expertise. The first subtle sign that a man is losing respect for you is one that creeps in so gradually you might not notice it at first. He begins to dismiss your opinions, your insights, and your expertise. And this happens in ways that are easy to overlook or rationalize away. Think about the early days of your relationship. Remember how he used to ask for your advice? How did he value your perspective on things? How he would actually pause and consider what you had to say before making decisions. That's because, in the beginning, he respected your intelligence, your life experience, and your wisdom. He saw you as an equal, someone whose thoughts and opinions carried weight. But now, things have changed. When you share your opinion on something, he barely acknowledges it, or worse, he acknowledges it just enough to dismiss it. He might say things like, "That's nice, but," or "I don't think you understand how this really works," or "Let me explain this to you." That last one is particularly insidious because it positions him as the teacher and you as the teacher. Student who needs to be educated, even when you're discussing something you know far more about than he does. Let me give you a specific example. Let's say you've worked in finance for 30 years, you've managed portfolios, you've weathered market crashes, and you've built wealth through careful planning and strategic thinking. You know what you're doing. But when you try to give him advice about his investments or suggest a better approach to your shared finances, he waves you off. He might even laugh a little, not with you, but at you. He might say, "I've got this," or "Don't worry about it," or "This is man stuff." He completely ignores the fact that you have decades of professional experience in this exact field. Or perhaps you're discussing a problem he's having at work. You've navigated office politics for years, you've managed teams, you've resolved conflicts, and you've climbed corporate ladders. You have valuable insights to share. But when you offer your perspective, he barely listens. He might physically turn away from you, start looking at his phone, or interrupt you mid-sentence to talk about something completely unrelated. Your expertise, your wisdom gained from years of professional experience, means nothing to him anymore. This dismissal extends beyond just professional topics. It happens with everyday decisions too. You suggest a restaurant, and he shoots it down without consideration. You recommend a movie, and he ignores you and picks something else. You share an article you found interesting, he barely glances at it. You offer a solution to a household problem, he does the opposite without explanation. Each instance might seem small on its own, but together they form a pattern. And that pattern tells you something crucial. He no longer values what you think, what you know, or what you have to offer intellectually. Now, here's where it gets even more revealing. Watch what happens when someone else offers the exact same opinion or advice you just gave. Suddenly, he's all ears. Suddenly, it's a brilliant idea. Suddenly, it's worth considering. I've heard countless women describe this phenomenon. They'll suggest something, and he'll dismiss it completely. Then, days or weeks later, his friend, his colleague, or even a stranger will suggest the same thing, and he'll act like it's the most insightful thing he's ever heard. He might even repeat the idea to you as if it's new information, completely forgetting or deliberately ignoring that you said the exact same thing. This is especially painful when it happens in group settings. You're at dinner with friends, and you share an observation or an opinion. He either ignores you or subtly contradicts you. But when his male friend shares a similar thought, he enthusiastically agrees and expands on it. In that moment, you're made invisible. Your voice doesn't matter, your thoughts don't count, and everyone at that table witnesses your diminishment. What makes this sign particularly subtle is that he can always claim he's not doing it on purpose. He can say you're being too sensitive, that you're reading too much into things, or that he's just preoccupied or distracted. But here's the truth. Respect isn't something you have to fight for or prove you deserve. When a man truly respects a woman, he listens to her. He considers her perspective. He values her intelligence and experience. He doesn't need to agree with everything she says, but he gives her the courtesy of genuine consideration. The dismissal of your opinions isn't just about the specific topics being discussed. It's about something deeper, something more fundamental. It's about him no longer seeing you as his equal. It's about him positioning himself above you in the relationship hierarchy. It's about him deciding that his thoughts, his knowledge, and his perspective are more valid and more valuable than yours. And once a man starts operating from that place, respect has already left the building. Pay attention to how you feel after conversations with him. Do you feel heard? Do you feel valued? Do you feel like your contributions matter? Or do you feel dismissed, minimized, and made to feel small? Your feelings are data. They're telling you something important about how this man sees you and treats you. Don't ignore that data. Don't rationalize it away. And definitely don't blame yourself for being too sensitive. If you consistently feel dismissed and unheard, there's a reason for that. And that reason is that he's no longer giving you the respect you deserve. Sign 2. He stops including you in important decisions. The second subtle sign that a man is losing respect for you is when he stops including you in important decisions that affect both of your lives. This is a massive red flag that often goes unnoticed until the consequences are already unfolding. In a healthy relationship built on mutual respect, major decisions are made together. That's what partnership means. It means that decisions affecting your shared life, your shared resources, and your shared future are discussed, debated, and decided upon as a team. Both voices matter. Both perspectives are considered. Both people have a say in the direction of the relationship and the life you're building together. But when a man loses respect for you, he starts making unilateral decisions. He stops consulting you. He stops asking for your input. He stops caring about what you think or how you feel about major life changes. And then he presents these decisions to you as done deals, as if your opinion never mattered in the first place. Let me paint you a picture of what this looks like in real life. Maybe he decides to make a major purchase without discussing it with you first. We're not talking about him buying a coffee or even a new pair of shoes. We're talking about significant financial decisions. He buys a car, he makes an investment, he lends a large sum of money to a friend or family member, he commits to a major expense. And he does all of this without ever having a conversation with you about it. You find out after the fact, and when you question why he didn't discuss it with you first, he acts like you're being controlling or unreasonable for expecting to be included in financial decisions that affect your household. Or maybe the decision isn't financial, maybe it's about his career. He decides to take a new job in another city without discussing it with you. He decides to start a business that will require significant time and resources. He decides to go back to school or to retire or to make a major career change. And you're not part of the conversation. You're just expected to go along with it, to adjust your life around his decision, and to support whatever he's already decided without your input. This also happens with social decisions and commitments. He makes plans that affect both of you without consulting you. He commits you both to social events you never agreed to. He invites people to stay in your home without asking if that's okay with you. He schedules vacations or trips without checking if the timing works for you or if it's even something you want to do. Your schedule, your preferences, and your needs are not factored into his planning at all. And here's what's particularly insidious about this behavior. When you express frustration or hurt about being excluded from these decisions, he makes it seem like you're the problem. He might say things like, "I didn't think it was a big deal," or "I didn't want to bother you," or "I knew you'd just say no, so I decided for both of us." That last one is especially telling. He's essentially admitting that he knew you might have a different opinion, so instead of respecting your right to that opinion and working toward a compromise, he just bypassed you altogether. He decided that his preference was more important than your voice in your own life. Some men will try to frame this as being decisive or taking charge or being the man of the house. Don't fall for that narrative. There's a huge difference between being decisive and being dismissive. A decisive man can make decisions confidently when he needs to, but he also knows when decisions should be made collaboratively. A decisive man doesn't confuse leadership with dictatorship. A decisive man respects his partner enough to include her in decisions that affect her life. When a man starts making major decisions without you, he's telling you something very clear. He doesn't see you as an equal partner. He sees himself as the sole authority in the relationship. Your opinions, your feelings, and your preferences are obstacles to be managed or avoided, rather than important factors to be considered. You've been demoted from partner to dependent, from equal to subordinate, and this shift doesn't happen because you've done something wrong or because you've somehow lost the right to be consulted. It happens because he's lost respect for you. He no longer values your input. He no longer sees your perspective as necessary or even relevant to the decisions he makes. In his mind, he's entitled to make these calls on his own, and you're expected to accept them. Think about what this means for the power dynamics in your relationship. If one person is making all the major decisions, that person holds all the power, and the person being excluded from decisions loses agency over their own life. You become a passenger in your own relationship, just along for whatever ride he decides to take you on. That's not partnership. That's not love. That's not respect. That's control. Pay attention to the pattern. Once or twice, a person might make a decision without consulting their partner due to circumstances or oversight. But if this is happening regularly, if you're consistently finding out about major decisions after they've already been made, that's not an oversight. That's a choice. He's choosing to exclude you. He's choosing to make decisions unilaterally. He's choosing to disregard your right to have a voice in your shared life. And those choices reveal how little respect he has for you as his partner. You deserve to be included in decisions that affect your life. You deserve to have your voice heard and your perspective considered. You deserve to be treated as an equal partner, not as someone whose opinion is optional or inconvenient. If the man you're with is consistently making major decisions without you, it's time to have a serious conversation about what partnership means and whether he's willing to treat you with the respect that partnership requires. And if he's not willing, it might be time to make your own unilateral decision about whether this relationship is good for you. Sign 3. He belittles your feelings and emotional experiences. The third subtle sign that a man is losing respect for you is when he begins to belittle your feelings and emotional experiences. This is one of the most damaging forms of disrespect because it attacks something fundamental to who you are as a person, your emotional reality. Everyone experiences emotions. Everyone has feelings about the things that happen to them and around them. Your emotional responses to life are valid, they're real, and they deserve to be treated with respect and consideration. When you're in a relationship with someone who truly respects you, they don't dismiss your feelings or make you feel foolish for having them. They might not always understand your emotional response, and they might not feel the same way themselves, but they respect that your feelings are your truth. But when a man loses respect for you, your emotions become targets for his contempt. He starts treating your feelings as if they're problems to be managed rather than experiences to be honored. He begins to respond to your emotional expressions with dismissal, mockery, or irritation. Here's what this looks like in practice. You share that something hurt your feelings. Maybe it was something he said or did, or maybe it was an external situation that affected you emotionally. Instead of listening with empathy or trying to understand your perspective, he responds with phrases that minimize and invalidate what you're feeling. He might say, "You're being too sensitive," or "You're overreacting," or "That's not a big deal," or "You're too emotional," or "Here we go again," or "You're always upset about something." Each of these responses does the same thing. It tells you that your feelings are wrong. It tells you that your emotional experience doesn't matter. It tells you that you're the problem for having feelings in the first place. And over time, these responses can make you start to doubt yourself. You begin to wonder if maybe you are too sensitive. Maybe you are overreacting. Maybe there is something wrong with you for feeling hurt or sad or angry or disappointed. But here's the truth. Your feelings are never wrong. Feelings aren't right or wrong. They just are. They're your internal experience of the world. You can't control what you feel. You can only control how you respond to what you feel. And when someone tells you that your feelings are invalid, they're essentially telling you that your inner experience of reality doesn't count. They're telling you that only their perception matters, only their interpretation is valid. This belittling often escalates into something called gaslighting. Gaslighting is when someone manipulates you into questioning your own reality, your own perceptions, and your own sanity. A man who's lost respect for you might do this by denying things he said or did, by insisting you're remembering things wrong, or by telling you that events didn't happen the way you experienced them. When you say, "You hurt me when you said that thing at dinner," he responds with, "I never said that. You're making things up." Or, "That's not what I meant, and you know it. You're just looking for reasons to be upset." He might also use your emotions against you in arguments. Instead of addressing the actual issue you're raising, he attacks your emotional state. "You're too worked up to have a rational conversation about this," he might say. Or, "I can't talk to you when you're like this." By framing your emotions as the problem, he shifts the conversation away from his behavior and onto your reaction to his behavior. Suddenly, you're defending yourself for having feelings instead of him being accountable for the actions that caused those feelings. This is particularly painful when you're dealing with something genuinely difficult or traumatic. Maybe you're grieving a loss. Maybe you're stressed about a health issue. Maybe you're worried about a loved one. These are significant emotional experiences that deserve compassion and support. But instead of offering you comfort, he treats your distress as an inconvenience. He might sigh heavily when you try to talk about what you're going through. He might physically leave the room when you start to express difficult emotions. He might say things like, "Can't you just get over this?" Or, "How long are you going to be upset about this?" Or, "Other people deal with worse and don't fall apart." These responses aren't just insensitive, they're cruel. They demonstrate a profound lack of respect for you as a person. When someone respects you, they don't minimize your pain. They don't mock your fears. They don't dismiss your concerns. They might not be able to fix what you're going through, but they can sit with you in it. They can acknowledge that what you're feeling is real and valid. They can offer comfort instead of criticism. Some men will try to justify their dismissal of your emotions by claiming they're logical and you're emotional, as if logic and emotion are opposites and logic is superior. This is nonsense. Emotions are a form of intelligence. They're information about what matters to you, what threatens you, what brings you joy, and what causes you pain. Emotional awareness is a strength, not a weakness. And plenty of research shows that emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage emotions, is actually a better predictor of success and well-being than traditional measures of intelligence. When a man consistently belittles your feelings, he's trying to establish a hierarchy where his way of experiencing the world is superior to yours. He's trying to make you feel small, weak, and irrational. He's trying to train you to stop expressing your emotions because he finds them bothersome. And many women fall into this trap. They start suppressing their feelings around him. They stop sharing when they're hurt or upset. They learn to paste on a smile and pretend everything is fine because they know that expressing genuine emotions will only lead to dismissal or mockery. But here's what happens when you do that. You lose yourself. You become disconnected from your own inner experience. You start living on the surface of your own life because going deep means feeling things, and feeling things has become dangerous in this relationship. You become a shell of who you really are, performing emotional stability for someone who doesn't respect the full range of your humanity. You deserve better than this. You deserve to be with someone who treats your feelings with respect and care. You deserve someone who might not always understand why you feel what you feel, but who trusts that your feelings are valid and important. You deserve someone who meets your emotional expressions with curiosity rather than contempt, with compassion rather than criticism. If the man you're with consistently belittles your feelings, makes you feel foolish for having emotions, or uses your emotional responses against you, that's not love. That's abuse. Emotional abuse is real, and it leaves deep scars even if there are never physical wounds. Don't let anyone convince you that you're too sensitive or too emotional. Your capacity to feel deeply is a gift, not a flaw. The right person will honor that gift, not attack it. Sign 4. He stops making an effort with your appearance and presence. The fourth subtle sign that a man is losing respect for you is when he stops making any effort with your appearance and presence. This one is tricky because it can be misinterpreted or dismissed, but it's actually quite revealing about how he values you. Let me be clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that a man has to constantly compliment you, or that he needs to comment on your appearance every single day, or that he needs to make a big deal about how you look. Physical compliments are nice, but they're not the point here. What I'm talking about is something deeper, something that speaks to whether he still sees you, whether he still appreciates you, and whether he still makes any effort to acknowledge your presence in his life. Think back to when you first got together. Remember how he used to notice you? He'd compliment a new haircut or a new outfit. He'd tell you that you looked beautiful. He'd catch your eye across a room and smile. He'd reach for your hand when you walked together. He'd introduce you to people with pride in his voice. He paid attention to you, not just to what you looked like, but to your presence, to the fact that you were there with him. But now, that's gone. You could walk into a room wearing something spectacular, and he barely glances up. You get a new hairstyle, something you've been excited about, and he doesn't notice for days. Or if he does notice, his response is flat and perfunctory, like he's checking a box. "Looks fine," he might mutter, already turning his attention back to his phone or the TV or anything other than you. You might spend time getting ready for a date night or a special event, putting thought into how you look because you want to feel good and you want him to appreciate the effort. And then you walk out and there's nothing. No reaction, no compliment, no acknowledgement that you put any effort in at all. It's as if you're invisible, as if you could have shown up in pajamas and it would have made no difference to him. Now, here's where this gets more subtle and more painful. It's not just about physical compliments. It's about whether he makes any effort to be present with you at all. When you're talking to him, is he actually looking at you, or is he scrolling through his phone? When you're together, is he engaged with you, or is his attention always somewhere else? Do you feel like he's actually with you, or does it feel like you're just occupying the same space while his mind and attention are a million miles away? And watch what happens when other women are around. Suddenly, he's got plenty of attention to give. He compliments the server at the restaurant on her smile. He makes a point to tell his colleague how nice she looks in that color. He lights up in conversation with other women in a way he never does with you anymore. He makes an effort to be charming, to be engaged, and to be present when other women are involved. But with you, nothing. It's like you've become part of the furniture, expected, ignored, taken for granted. This is particularly painful in public settings. You're at a party or a gathering, and he barely acknowledges you're there. He doesn't touch you, doesn't stand near you, doesn't include you in conversations, and doesn't introduce you to people. Or if he does, it's as an afterthought. Meanwhile, he's animated and engaged with everyone else. You watch him be the version of himself that first attracted you, but that version doesn't show up for you anymore. It only shows up for other people. Some men will defend this by saying that they don't need to compliment you all the time because you already know how they feel. They'll say that constant reassurance is unnecessary in a mature relationship, and there's some truth to that. Secure, long-term relationships don't require the same level of constant validation that new relationships do. But there's a massive difference between not needing constant compliments and being completely ignored. There's a difference between the comfort of a long-term partnership and the neglect of being taken for granted. When a man respects you, he continues to see you, not in the superficial way of early romance, but in a deeper, more sustained way. He notices when you're trying something new. He appreciates when you make an effort. He makes sure you know that your presence in his life matters to him. He doesn't take you for granted. He doesn't treat you like you're invisible. He doesn't save his best self for everyone else while giving you whatever's left over. The lack of effort extends beyond just physical acknowledgement. It shows up in how he talks to you. When you were first together, He was interested in your thoughts, your day, and your experiences. He asked questions. He wanted to know what you were thinking and feeling. He made an effort to connect with you on a deeper level. But now, those conversations have dried up. He doesn't ask about your day. He doesn't inquire about your projects or your interests or your concerns. If you try to share something with him, he gives you half attention at best, usually with his eyes on a screen or his mind clearly somewhere else. This creates a terrible dynamic where you find yourself competing for scraps of his attention. You might try harder to get his focus, putting more effort into your appearance or trying to be more interesting or accommodating his preferences. But here's the painful truth. You can't earn respect by trying harder. You can't make someone value you by diminishing yourself or by putting in more effort to compensate for their lack of effort. That's not how respect works. When someone truly respects you, your presence is a gift they appreciate, not a burden they tolerate. They make an effort because you matter to them, not because you've done something to earn their attention. They see you because they want to see you, not because you've made yourself impossible to ignore. If you're with a man who treats you like you're invisible, who saves his charm and attention for other people while giving you nothing, who makes no effort to acknowledge your presence or your efforts, that's disrespect. That's him telling you, through his actions, that you don't rate his energy anymore. You've become too familiar, too comfortable, and too available. And in his mind, that means you don't deserve the effort anymore. But you do deserve effort. You deserve to be seen. You deserve to be appreciated. You deserve to be with someone who makes you feel like your presence in their life is valued and cherished. If the man you're with has stopped making any effort with you, stopped noticing you, and stopped engaging with you, then it's worth asking yourself why you're accepting crumbs when you deserve the whole meal. Sidene 5. He criticizes you, especially in front of others. The fifth subtle sign that a man is losing respect for you is when he begins to criticize you regularly, and especially when he does this in front of other people. This is one of the most overtly disrespectful behaviors, yet many women tolerate it far longer than they should, often because it's wrapped in humor or disguised as honesty. Criticism in a relationship comes in many forms, and not all criticism is inherently disrespectful. In a healthy relationship, partners can offer each other constructive feedback. They can point out when something isn't working or suggest ways to do things differently. But there's a huge difference between constructive feedback offered privately with good intentions and destructive criticism meant to belittle, control, or diminish you. When a man has lost respect for you, his criticism becomes constant and cutting. Nothing you do is right. Nothing you do is good enough. He finds fault with everything. How you dress, how you cook, how you clean, how you talk, how you laugh, what you say, what you think, who your friends are, how you spend your time, how you manage money, and how you handle problems. The criticism is relentless, and it chips away at your confidence and self-esteem piece by piece. What makes this particularly damaging is when he does it in front of other people. Public criticism is a power move. It's designed to humiliate you and to establish his dominance in the relationship. When a man criticizes his partner in front of others, he's sending several messages simultaneously. To you, he's saying, "I don't respect you enough to protect your dignity." To others, he's saying, "She's beneath me, and I can treat her this way." And to himself, he's confirming, "I'm superior to her." Here's what this looks like in real life. You're at dinner with friends, and you share a story or make a comment. Instead of letting your words stand or adding to the conversation, he immediately corrects you or contradicts you. "That's not how it happened," he might say, rolling his eyes. Or, "You always get the details wrong." He makes you look foolish in front of people whose respect matters to you. And when you feel hurt by this, he dismisses your feelings. "I was just correcting you," he'll say. "You shouldn't say things if you can't get them right." Or maybe you're at a family gathering, and he makes jokes at your expense. He tells embarrassing stories about you. He mocks things you've said or done. He draws attention to your mistakes or flaws. And he does all of this while everyone else laughs, putting you in an impossible position. If you object, you look like you can't take a joke. If you stay silent, you endure the humiliation. Either way, you lose. The criticism might be subtle, disguised as concern or advice. "Honey, don't you think that dress is a little tight?" he might say in front of others. "I think you've gained some weight." Or, "Maybe you should go easy on the wine tonight. Remember what happened last time?" These comments sound like they're coming from a place of care, but they're not. They're designed to embarrass you, to make you self-conscious, and to diminish you in front of witnesses. Sometimes the criticism is framed as honesty. "I'm just being honest," he'll say after saying something hurtful. Someone needs to tell you the truth. But honesty without kindness is cruelty. And there's a way to be honest with someone you love that doesn't involve tearing them down, especially not in front of an audience. Pay attention to whether his criticism is ever balanced with appreciation. Does he ever compliment you? Does he ever acknowledge things you do well? Does he ever express gratitude or admiration? Or is the feedback entirely one-sided and entirely negative? If all you hear from him is what's wrong with you, what you're failing at, and what you need to fix, that's not honesty. That's abuse. Notice also whether he can accept criticism in return. What happens when you point out something he's done wrong or suggest a way he could improve? Does he listen and reflect, or does he get defensive, angry, or dismissive? Men who dish out constant criticism but can't handle receiving any are operating from a place of superiority. They believe they're entitled to judge you, but you're not entitled to judge them. That's not equality. That's not respect. That's hierarchy, with him firmly positioned above you. The public nature of his criticism is particularly revealing because it shows that he's not even trying to. Preserve your dignity. When you respect someone, you protect them. You don't air your grievances or frustrations with them in front of others. You don't make them the butt of your jokes. You don't put them in positions where they feel small or foolish. If you have an issue with your partner, you bring it up privately, in a way that allows them to save face and respond without an audience. But when a man has lost respect for you, your dignity means nothing to him. In fact, he might even enjoy diminishing you in front of others. It makes him feel powerful. It reinforces his sense of superiority. And if others laugh or agree with his criticism, that validates his perception that he's right and you're wrong. He's above and you're below. This behavior often escalates over time. It starts small, maybe just a little teasing or a minor correction, but it grows. The criticism becomes more frequent, more cutting, and more public. And you might find yourself changing to avoid his criticism. You stop talking in social settings because you're afraid of being corrected. You're constantly second-guessing yourself. You're walking on eggshells, trying to be perfect so he'll have nothing to criticize. But here's the thing. You'll never be perfect enough, because the criticism isn't really about your behavior. It's about his lack of respect for you. It's about him needing to put you down to feel better about himself. If you're in a relationship where you're being regularly criticized, especially in front of others, you need to understand that this is not normal. This is not okay. This is not what love looks like. Love builds you up. Love protects you. Love honors you, especially in front of others. If the man you're with is tearing you down instead of building you up, if he's criticizing instead of encouraging, if he's humiliating you instead of honoring you, then he has no respect for you, and you deserve so much better than that. Sig. 6. He violates your boundaries repeatedly. The sixth subtle sign that a man is losing respect for you is when he begins to violate your boundaries repeatedly. Boundaries are essential for healthy relationships, and how someone responds to your boundaries tells you everything you need to know about how much they respect you. Let's start with what boundaries are. Boundaries are the limits you set about what you're comfortable with, what you will and won't accept, and what you need to feel safe and respected. Boundaries can be physical, emotional, sexual, financial, or social. They're not demands or ultimatums. They're not about controlling someone else's behavior. They're about protecting yourself and communicating what you need in order to feel respected and safe in a relationship. When you set a boundary with someone who respects you, they honor it. They might not always like it. They might wish the boundary were different. They might need to discuss it with you to understand it better. But ultimately, they respect your right to have that boundary, and they adjust their behavior accordingly. That's what respect looks like in action. But when a man has lost respect for you, your boundaries become inconveniences to be ignored or obstacles to be overcome. He doesn't see your boundaries as valid expressions of your needs. He sees them as restrictions on his freedom, and he feels entitled to push against them, violate them, or manipulate you into lowering them. Here's what this looks like in practice. Maybe you've set a boundary about needing personal space or alone time. You've clearly communicated that you need time to yourself to recharge, to pursue your interests, and to maintain your individual identity. At first, he might have respected this, but as his respect for you has eroded, so has his respect for this boundary. Now, he interrupts your personal time constantly. He gets annoyed when you want to do things without him. He makes you feel guilty for needing space. He might even accuse you of not loving him or not prioritizing the relationship when you enforce this boundary. Or maybe you've set a boundary about communication. You've told him that you don't want to be texted or called repeatedly when you're at work or when you're out with friends. You've explained that constant contact makes you feel controlled and monitored, but he doesn't care. He continues to blow up your phone with texts. He calls multiple times, and when you don't respond immediately, he gets angry or accuses you of hiding something. Your clearly stated boundary means nothing to him. His need to access you whenever he wants trumps your need for autonomy. Financial boundaries are another common area where disrespect shows up. Maybe you've established that certain accounts are yours alone, that you need to be consulted before large purchases, and that lending money to family members needs to be a joint decision. But he crosses these boundaries without remorse. He uses your money without asking. He makes financial commitments without discussing them with you. He pressures you to lend money to his friends or family, even though you've said no. When you object, he tells you that you're being selfish or controlling, or that you don't understand how relationships work. Sexual boundaries are perhaps the most critical and the most often violated when respect is absent. You have the right to decide what happens with your body. You have the right to say no. You have the right to have preferences about what you're comfortable with sexually. When a man respects you, he honors these boundaries absolutely. Your no is accepted without question, without guilt-tripping, and without pressure. But when a man has lost respect for you, your sexual boundaries become negotiations. He pressures you. He guilt-trips you. He sulks or becomes angry when you're not interested in sex. He might say things like, "If you really loved me, you would," or "This is what people do in relationships," or "I have needs." He treats your body as something he's entitled to access rather than as yours to control. Emotional boundaries are also crucial. Maybe you've told him that you're not comfortable with him sharing certain personal information about you with others. You've asked him not to discuss your private struggles, your past traumas, or your health issues with his friends or family, but he does it anyway. He tells himself he's just venting or seeking advice, but what he's really doing is violating your privacy and your explicitly stated boundary about what information you want kept private. Or maybe you've set a boundary about not wanting to engage in certain topics or arguments late at night when you're tired. You've asked for difficult conversations to happen during the day when you both have more energy and emotional resources, but he insists on having these conversations on his timeline, not respecting your need for better conditions for productive communication. What makes boundary violations particularly damaging is the pattern of behavior around them. When you point out that he's violated a boundary, what's his response? Does he apologize sincerely and change his behavior? Or does he minimize, deflect, blame you, or make excuses? Men who respect you respond to boundary violations with remorse and behavior change. Men who don't respect you respond with defensiveness and continue to violate your boundaries. Watch for these common responses to boundary setting and boundary enforcement. You're too sensitive. This response tells you that your needs aren't valid, that the problem is with you for having boundaries in the first place, not with him for violating them. You're trying to control me. This flips the script, making your act of self-protection into an attack on his freedom. It's a manipulation tactic designed to make you back down from your boundary. Other women don't have a problem with this. This compares you to other women to make you feel like you're the one, being unreasonable, not him for refusing to respect your stated limits. I forgot. Once or twice, forgetting a boundary is human. Repeatedly, forgetting the same boundary is a choice. It means your boundary isn't important enough to him to remember. You never told me that. When you have clearly and explicitly stated a boundary and he claims you never told him, he's gaslighting you. He's trying to make you doubt your own memory and your own reality. Another sign that respect is gone is when he tests your boundaries deliberately. He pushes just a little bit past what you've said you're comfortable with to see if you'll enforce your boundary. If you don't, he pushes further. If you do, he acts like you're overreacting. This is a game of control, and it has nothing to do with love or respect. Boundaries are non-negotiable aspects of your personhood. They're not optional features of relationships, they're essential, and someone who truly loves and respects you will honor your boundaries, even when it's inconvenient for them. They might not understand all your boundaries. They might wish some boundaries were different, but they'll respect them because they respect you. Your boundaries matter because you matter. If the man you're with consistently violates your boundaries, makes you feel guilty for having boundaries, or treats your boundaries as suggestions rather than requirements, he doesn't respect you. And a relationship without respect for boundaries is a relationship where your sense of self will slowly erode. You'll lose touch with what you need, what you want, and what you're comfortable with because asserting those things has become too difficult, too much of a fight. Don't let that happen. Your boundaries protect you. Hold them firm, and if someone can't respect them, they don't deserve access to you. Sigan 7. He no longer defends you or has your back. The seventh and final subtle sign that a man is losing respect for you is perhaps one of the most painful. He no longer defends you or has your back. When you're in a true partnership with someone who respects you, you know that they're in your corner. You know that when things get tough, when conflicts arise, when you're being treated unfairly, they'll stand with you. They've got your back. That's what loyalty looks like. That's what respect in action looks like. But when a man has lost respect for you, that protection, that loyalty, that sense of being a team, it disappears, and you find yourself standing alone in situations where you should have a partner beside you. Let me explain what this looks like in real-world situations. Imagine you're at a family gathering, his family gathering, and someone says something rude or disrespectful to you. Maybe it's his mother making a passive-aggressive comment about your cooking or your parenting or your career. Maybe it's his brother making an inappropriate joke at your expense. Maybe it's his sister criticizing your choices. In the past, or at least in a healthy relationship, your partner would step in. He'd defend you. He'd make it clear that disrespect toward you isn't acceptable. He'd set a boundary with his family member that protects you. But now, when these things happen, he says nothing. He sits there silently while someone insults or belittles you. Or worse, he joins in. He laughs at the joke made at your expense. He agrees with the criticism of you. He nods along with the unfair assessment of your character or choices. In that moment, you realize with crushing clarity that you're on your own. He's not on your team anymore. He won't defend you. He won't protect you. He might even be against you. This lack of defense extends beyond just family situations. Maybe you're dealing with a difficult neighbor, and instead of standing with you in addressing the issue, he tells you that you're overreacting or that you should just let it go. Your concerns are dismissed. Your feelings don't matter. You're left to handle the situation alone while he positions himself as neutral, which in practice means he's taken the other person's side. Or maybe something happens at a social event. Someone makes you uncomfortable, says something inappropriate to you, or invades your personal space. You expect your partner to notice, to step in, and to support you. But he doesn't. He's too busy having a good time to notice your discomfort. Or he does notice, but decides it's not worth addressing. Your safety and comfort are not his priority. This also shows up in how he talks about you to others. When a man respects you, he speaks well of you, even when you're not there to hear it. He represents you fairly. He gives you the benefit of the doubt. He protects your reputation. But when respect is gone, he does the opposite. He complains about you to friends and family. He shares your private struggles or mistakes. He paints you in a negative light. He allows others to criticize you without defending you or correcting their misperceptions. You might not even know this is happening until someone mentions something he said about you, and you're blindsided by his disloyalty. In conflicts between you and him, a respectful partner tries to resolve disagreements privately and fairly. But when a man has lost respect for you, he brings other people into your conflicts to gang up on you. He runs to his mother or his friends to complain about you, and then uses their agreement with him as evidence that you're the problem. "Everyone agrees with me," he might say. "My mom thinks you're being unreasonable too." He's weaponizing other people's opinions against you instead of working with you to find a resolution. Another painful manifestation of this is when he doesn't defend your character or your intentions. If someone accuses you of something untrue or unfair, a partner who respects you would say, "That's not who she is. That's not what happened. I know her, and that's not accurate." But a man who's lost respect for you will let those accusations stand. He might even believe them himself or act like they're plausible. He doesn't give you the benefit of the doubt. He doesn't vouch for your character. He leaves you to defend yourself against false accusations while he remains silent or, worse, piles on. This lack of support is especially devastating in professional contexts. Maybe you're facing a difficult situation at work, a demanding boss, a challenging project, workplace conflict, or discrimination. You need emotional support. You need someone to believe in you, to encourage you, and to remind you of your competence and worth. But instead of supporting you, he minimizes your struggles. He tells you that you're being too sensitive or that you brought it on yourself. He doesn't celebrate your successes. He doesn't comfort you in your setbacks. You're navigating your professional life entirely on your own, with no support or encouragement from the person who's supposed to be your partner. The absence of having your back also appears in parenting situations if you have children together. In healthy co-parenting, partners present a united front to children. They support each other's parenting decisions and discuss disagreements privately. But when respect is absent, he undermines you in front of the children. He contradicts your decisions. He makes you the bad guy while he's the fun, permissive parent. He doesn't back you up on discipline or rules. Children sense this divide and learn to play you against each other. Your authority as a parent is eroded because you don't have your partner's support. Think about what it feels like to know that someone has your back versus feeling like you're on your own. When someone has your back, you feel secure. You feel supported. You feel like you can take on challenges because you're not facing them alone. You feel brave because you know that even if you fail, even if you stumble, someone will be there to catch you or to help you get back up. But when you realize that your partner doesn't have your back, everything changes. The world feels more dangerous. Challenges feel more overwhelming. You feel exposed and vulnerable because the person who's supposed to be your ally has left you to fend for yourself. This dynamic often leads to a terrible isolation. You stop sharing your struggles with him because you know he won't support you. You stop asking for help because you know he won't give it. You stop expecting loyalty because you've learned he won't offer it. You become self-reliant out of necessity, not out of strength. And that self-reliance, while impressive, is also lonely. You're partnered but alone, together but unsupported. When a man truly respects you, defending you isn't something he has to think about. It's automatic. It's instinctive. When someone disrespects you, he steps up. When you're struggling, he's there. When conflicts arise, he's on your team. He's your advocate, your defender, your supporter. Not because you're weak or helpless, but because that's what partnership means. That's what loyalty looks like. That's what respect in action is. If the man you're with no longer defends you, no longer has your back, and no longer stands with you in difficult moments, that's not just a lack of respect. That's a betrayal. And you deserve better. You deserve someone who will stand beside you, who will defend you, and who will make it clear to the world that you are valued and protected and respected. If the person you're with won't do that, it might be time to ask yourself why you're staying with someone who treats you like you're alone when you're supposed to be in a partnership. So there you have it. 7 subtle signs that a man is losing respect for you. Let's quickly recap what we've covered today because these signs are critical for you to recognize and remember. Sign 1. He dismisses your opinions and expertise. Your thoughts, your knowledge, and your insights don't matter to him anymore. He treats you like you have nothing valuable to contribute. Sign 2. He stops including you in important decisions. Major choices that affect your shared life are made without your input, without your knowledge, and without your voice being heard or valued. Sign 3. He belittles your feelings and emotional experiences. Your emotions are treated as problems, as overreactions, as inconveniences, rather than as valid human experiences that deserve respect and care. Sign 4. He stops making an effort with your appearance and presence. You've become invisible to him. Your presence in his life is taken for granted rather than appreciated. He saves his energy and attention for everyone else. Sign 5. He criticizes you, especially in front of others. Nothing you do is right. Nothing you do is good enough. And he has no problem tearing you down publicly, diminishing you in front of people whose respect matters to you. Sign 6. He violates your boundaries repeatedly. The limits you set to protect yourself, to maintain your sense of self, and to feel safe and respected mean nothing to him. He crosses them without remorse and makes you feel unreasonable for having boundaries in the first place. Sign 7. He no longer defends you or has your back. When you need support, when you need loyalty, when you need someone in your corner, he's not there. You're on your own, even though you're supposedly in a partnership. If you're seeing 1 or 2 of these signs in your relationship, that's concerning and worth addressing. But if you're seeing multiple signs or all of these signs, you need to understand something crucial. You're not in a respectful relationship. You're in a relationship where you're being devalued, diminished, and disrespected, and no amount of love can make up for a lack of respect. Here's what I want you to understand, especially if you're a woman over 40, over 50, or over 60. You have lived too much, survived too much, learned too much, and given too much to accept disrespect from anyone, especially from someone who claims to love you. The years you've lived, the experiences you've had, and the wisdom you've gained. These things make you more valuable, not less. The maturity you bring to relationships should be honored, not exploited. The patience and understanding you offer should be reciprocated, not taken for granted. You are not too old to expect respect. You are not too old to have standards. You are not too old to walk away from someone who treats you poorly. In fact, at this stage of your life, you should have less tolerance for disrespect, not more. You should be clearer about what you will and won't accept, not more flexible. You should be more committed to protecting your peace and your dignity, not less. If you're in a relationship where you're experiencing these signs of disrespect, you have choices. You can have an honest, direct conversation with your partner about what you're observing, and what needs to change. Sometimes men genuinely don't realize how their behavior has shifted, and a clear conversation can be a wake-up call. But here's the important part. If you have that conversation and nothing changes, if he dismisses your concerns or promises to change but doesn't follow through, then you have your answer. He's showing you that he's not willing to treat you with the respect you deserve. And if that's the case, you need to make a decision about whether you're willing to stay in a relationship where you're not respected. I know that's not an easy decision. I know that leaving a relationship, especially a long-term one, is complicated. There are practical considerations, emotional attachments, shared histories, and possibly children or grandchildren involved. I'm not suggesting that leaving is simple or that it should be your first response. But I am suggesting that staying in a relationship where you're consistently disrespected is slowly killing your spirit, your confidence, and your sense of self-worth. And no relationship is worth that cost. You deserve to be respected, not because you're perfect, or because you never make mistakes, or because you've earned it through your behavior. You deserve respect simply because you're a human being. And all human beings deserve to be treated with dignity and consideration. In a romantic relationship, that baseline respect should be amplified, not diminished. The person who claims to love you should be the person who treats you best, not the person who feels most entitled to treat you poorly. I want to leave you with this thought. Respect is not something you can convince someone to give you. It's not something you can earn through perfect behavior or by making yourself more convenient or by sacrificing more of yourself. Either someone respects you or they don't. Either they value you or they don't. Either they treat you well or they don't. And if they don't, no amount of trying harder on your part will change that fundamental lack of respect. Your job is not to make someone respect you. Your job is to respect yourself enough to refuse to tolerate disrespect from others. Your job is to set clear standards for how you will be treated and to enforce those standards, even when enforcement means walking away. Your job is to value yourself so highly that when someone fails to value you, you notice it immediately and you respond accordingly. Before I close out this video, I want to ask you one more time, if this content resonated with you, if it helped you see things more clearly, if it gave you language for experiences you've been having but couldn't quite articulate, please hit that like button. Your likes help this video reach more women who need this message. Leave a comment below. Tell me which of these 7 signs hit home for you. Tell me your story if you feel comfortable sharing it. Tell me what you're going to do differently now that you see these patterns more clearly. Your comments create a community here where women can support each other, learn from each other, and remind each other that we're not alone in these experiences. Share this video with a friend who might need to hear it. Sometimes we can see things in our friends' relationships that they can't see themselves. Sometimes sharing a video like this can open a conversation that changes someone's life. Subscribe to the Heart Code channel if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I post new content. This channel is dedicated to empowering mature women, to giving you the tools and information you need to protect yourselves, and to demanding the respect you deserve. And finally, if you want to support this channel in a tangible way, if you want to help us continue producing this content, consider leaving a super thanks. Your financial support allows us to keep making these videos, to keep researching these topics, and to keep providing content that serves you and your needs. Every super thanks, no matter how small, makes a real difference and is deeply appreciated. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being willing to look at these difficult topics honestly and for being committed to your own well-being and dignity. You are valuable. You are worthy. You deserve respect. Don't ever let anyone convince you otherwise. I'll see you in the next video. Take care of yourself.